Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RC Groups. I am super stoked to be sitting here with Jase Dusia. What's happening, Jase?
Not a whole lot. It's good to see you again, Jim T.
So I was talking to Kike Somenzini, the first 3D pilot I ever knew about in the world, the grandfather of 3D. And we were at Joe Knoll on the grass, and he said, I would really like for you to talk to Jase and see what he would want to talk about. And I'm going to go ahead and tell everyone out there, we today are going to talk about the Edge 540 120. We're going to talk about the Mamba 120 and the RV-8 60E, which is due in early August. But before we do all that, let's talk to Jase for a minute. So Jase, you moved from the snowy winter area to the balmy Louisiana area. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We moved late winter of 2022, so a little over a year now. We've been in Louisiana, and it's been really great. I want to say that the welcoming has been really warm. The people down here are great people, and we've established some friendships already, and the RC scene is really well too. There's a couple of really nice clubs around, some good events. Our Cajun Hug Fest is coming up in October, and I think we're going to have a pretty good showing for that one, and good food around here. So I think most people come down to the event just for the food, and the weather too. So yeah. It's been a lot of fun for sure.
So it's occurred to me that if you're joining us, I assume you know who Jase is, but you should never assume. Jase has been flying RC since he was a small lad. I'm not going to retell the tale that I tell every time. That's not easy to say. And I say you're the inventor of high speed 3D. You've gone all over the world promoting the hobby. And it's one thing to be a great pilot, and it's another thing to be a great person, but it's a hard thing to be a top level pilot and a great person all at the same time. So I want to say congrats, nothing but respect. You're out there really shining a light on what we do. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot for sure. I definitely enjoy it.
And I will also say to the listeners, if I'm in an event and I don't know anyone, which sometimes it happens, I know there's one place I can go. I can go over to the Dussia tent, and I'm going to get a hug and probably lunch, and I can sit in a chair for a minute and drink some water and cool off. So they are my home away from home at events across the country.
You're always welcome.
So now you're flying with Flex and Kike, and I've got to think that's got to be pretty awesome to have a guy like that around.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just like you, Kike's probably the first guy that I saw, online or, read about flying 3D and flying at the most competitive level of aerobatics. And, so it's someone that I've known about for quite some time. And he's played a big role, I think, in everyone's, everyone that flies 3D has somewhat of an influence from him, from his inventiveness back in the day, and from a product standpoint, the same things can be said. A lot of evolution that he's gone through there. But I think most importantly, he's a super awesome guy to work with. Great one to talk to. A lot of knowledge, of course, and I think it's been a lot of fun so far, and I think it's just an honor overall, to be able to work with someone at that caliber.
I have one story. When I first got in the hobby, I saw him, and I'd never seen him in person, and I was like, I've got to go talk to Kike. But I knew he was getting ready to do a demo, and it was minutes away, and he was prepping the plane, and I thought, okay, I'm going to leave him alone. And a little kid showed up and walked up, and Kike stopped what he was doing and talked to this kid as long as he answered all the questions. He was very calm. I would have been wigging out that they were going to call my name any second, and I would have to be on the line. And then he shook his hand and all the things, and went up on the line and flew flawlessly. And I think I learned a lot just from watching that interaction of what is important when you're at an event, and how to put things in perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And from my personal experience, that says a lot for sure, because that those times can be pretty difficult. And I think one thing about Kike, he's very focused. Now he's very focused from a business standpoint. And he used to be very focused. From a competitive standpoint, but he knows what's important too. And I think he realizes that if it's not for those people, if it's not
Right.
for everyone else in the hobby, if it's not for the younger people, getting into it, then there would be no opportunity to fly and do what we do, whether that be at events or demos or contests. So
Right.
I think he definitely realizes what's important for sure.
Got to move it forward. Well, let's start first on the RV-8 60E. I just put a story up on this thing, and tell us about it.
Yeah, so I personally first saw this airplane at the Freedom Fest put on by Full Throttle RC a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people are familiar with the RV-860 6S platform. It's sold really well throughout the years, and you see a lot of them at events. At CEF this past year, we saw a lot of them. And this one's, an updated version of that, new motor. Got the removable battery tray there in that picture. The color scheme is the most prominent feature, I guess you'd say, and the finish too. The finish is really clean, and in some angles it almost looks like it's ultra coat on there, so it's pretty impressive. And the performance, with some of the new electronic features is really nice. Like I said, Kike had it at the event up there in Virginia, and it's got everything that the old one does. The aerodynamics are pretty much the same. So the flying technique that everyone is used to is still there. There's a couple of cool features in the Aura programming that come pre-programmed in the airplane. One of the pictures there that we saw with the light setup. We got the night version, of course, and the floats. Yep, there we go. So really good presentation there, and personally, I really like that color scheme. I think it
Yeah.
shows it off really well. The lines of the airplane, and I think those colors suit a wide range of people. But we've got the orange one there, and the other color schemes from the G1 that are still available. Those have been really popular, so got to stick with those. And I think
That's a good
overall,
size reference.
yeah,
It's bigger.
it's got good presentation for sure. It's not a massive, battery, 3,000, 4,000,
Right.
4,200, something like that. So it's pretty good airplane for the size of electronics you're putting into it, so to speak. So um, the presentation is really good on this one.
So, any tips? Like if you were going to fly it in a demo, anything you would do that maybe we wouldn't know to do?
Yeah, so just like all the other super P&P airplanes that I've been flying, the equipment's all stock. Mostly, what I do is I'll get the airplane and I'll go into the Aura programming, the config tool, and do some adjustments. Um, there's normally a setup for high rates for these airplanes that you get, and so when you want to do 3D, at a demo or show the flight envelope, I'll fly with the higher rates. But I'll just fine tune the gain and the stick priority, for example, and the expos, and that's all personal preference, but it's within the config tool. So normally, for me personally, I'll use the high rate function, but turn down the gyro gains a little bit, and also turn down the stick priority value. That's just personal preference. The stock settings are really good for the wide spectrum of flying
Right.
styles. So you can fly 3D with the stock settings, and it won't feel really touchy or anything like that. So I think it's better to have that out of the box as something that's a little more touchy. So it fits a wide range of people for sure.
So ultimately, you can adjust to your whatever it is you like after you get used to the plane itself.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. That's for sure. So, you know, I briefly touched on the Super P&P, class, but this airplane is really the assembly time is really short. Out of the box, you're looking at probably approximately an hour, maybe a little more,
That's great.
but it's really good. And like I said, I think it's going to be really popular, mostly because of the G1 was a lot of success, but a few different electronic features and hardware and structural things that take this one to the next level.
It's always good to see replacement parts
Yeah, yeah,
because
for
if
sure.
you
I think
crunch something up, yeah.
yeah, I think that's everyone has experience with replacement parts. I'll put it
Yes,
that way.
yeah. Oh, and I wanted to say, if you're wondering, there will be links in the description of the video, also in the feature article, but flexinnovations.com. And if you were to say, how do I find this airplane? This airplane right now is on the homepage. So you can click through it right there. We're going to go look at the Mamba 120. I love a biplane, Jace. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think from a presence wise and presentation standpoint, it's hard to beat the Mamba 120. Not only just because of the colors, but the size of the airplane, um, and the round cowl. Some people
Yeah.
don't like the round cowl, but in my opinion, a round cowl biplane such as the Mamba 120, it presents really well in the air, especially rolling maneuvers. So
Yeah.
I think for a while, throughout the years, everyone's enjoyed seeing an airplane like this fly, but it's pretty cool to have one that's as capable as this for sure.
It's just so good looking.
Yeah. So this is, like you mentioned, the Mamba 120, 120cc version of it. Um, and right now it's available in two color schemes as we're going through here, the red, white, and blue, and the yellow and black. Um,
What's your
and
favorite?
uh, that's a good
Can
question. I have the red, white, and blue right now,
yeah.
and it looks awesome in the air. Um, it's hard to beat that color combo. But you go to an event like Joe Nall or whatever, and you actually see a pretty balanced amount of these color schemes. So it's pretty cool.
Okay.
I think the yellow is it's definitely a good contrast for sure.
Yeah, that really pops. It reminds me of the older biplanes that you might have flown in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Just the
true.
yellow and black. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And any setup tips here that you might
So
do?
for mine, I run the DA 120 on it. It's spinning a Falcon 28 by 9.5. Um, yeah. So and for servos, I have the MKS 3850s. Another option is the Potenza 49010s. Um, and one thing that's cool about this airplane, being round cowl, we have a new a spinner style that was released earlier this year. Yeah, the
Is that it?
parabolic spinner, and it looks really good, on a round cowl. I think, yep,
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
picture of it. So uh, the color obviously matches the airplane, but and then it's available too. You can put it on the RV-8 there. It looks really nice on that airplane.
That is awesome.
So just another little aesthetic, I guess you'd say that makes it look really nice.
All right. Do we want to jump into the edge?
Sure, we can talk about that a little bit. That's also 120cc, so DA 120 compatible as well. Servo options are the same. I run the same servos in this one. And the Edge is the first 120cc monoplane from Flex. Obviously, the Mamba 120 was the first 120cc airplane in general, and so now we have the Mamba 120 and the Edge 120cc, and I've been having a lot of fun with it for sure. It's a great all around airplane. Not often do you see an edge that excels really well in precision. Normally, the edges have always been really good for low and slow and stability, and
Right.
this one definitely has that. But it's a really well-rounded airplane. Really aggressive and rolling, nice and axial and rolling maneuvers, and the tail authority is pretty crazy for sure. So I think it'll fit a lot of people that are looking to get into this size of airplane. And there's been a lot of positive feedback on it too. Everyone that I've talked to really likes the stability of it, but also the ability to get a little crazier with it. And regarding the color schemes, it's really cool to have a unique option like the green and black here. It's been really popular, sold really well, and then classic red, white, and blue always does really well too. So
I was
it,
going
it
to ask who designs like this scheme is unlike any scheme I've seen before. Who's in charge of that?
yeah, it's definitely unique. Clint Sweet is who we work with for these color schemes, and he did this particular project for the Edge 540 and knocked it out of the park as usual. And it presents really well in the air, some good contrast top to bottom. Um, Shows off some of the lines pretty good. I think in my opinion, it's got a good balance of, something, wild, but at the same time not too busy. I
Right.
think it's right there where it should be for that. So uh,
It's awesome.
I think uh, I think it's got a lot of attention at events so far.
And then what about this guy? So, how long does it take to put a plane like this together?
It all depends on the experience. You get to something of this size.
Yeah.
This is someone's first 120cc airplane. I would advise, take your time on it, make sure everything is mechanically set up well. But I mean, if you're a experienced assembler of something this size, then it'll go together, just as quick as anything else. I mean, some people slap them together at an event. Some people, it might take a month or two. So it varies, but it's definitely, I would say it's definitely your standard 120cc assembly with some really high quality features. It's all, pre-hinged and pre-sealed. So it's up to par with other 120cc airframes.
While I've got you, the Aura was kind of the first of its kind, even before people accepted gyros. That was cheating, and that was how long ago, and
Right.
now it is de facto. This is part of the deal, and people accept what it is. And once you have one, you never go back because everything is great, So, anything you want to talk about on the Aura? Like you're already talking about that you go in and make adjustments for certain things.
For sure. Yeah. So, my personal experience from the Aura stems from the super plug and play lineup. So, the foam airplanes, like the RV-8 we talked about, Cap 232, Yak 55, etc. So, those are my settings for that airplane and airplanes alike. Um, for the Mamba 120 and the Edge. Personally, I'm running the power safe receiver, so I do not have an Aura installed in those airplanes. But that's all personal preference.
Right.
I think even if you don't want to run a gyro, the Aura is still an option, and having the gyro turned off. I think the main focus and main feature of that product is the flight control system and how you're able to dial in the airplane. Obviously, when you get a PNP airplane from Flex with the Aura in it, um, you've got an enhanced stability feature, obviously with the gyro. But the biggest feature on that is that everything is pre-programmed. You don't have to spend those dial-in flights of getting the mixes correct or the the differential correct, things of that matter. So it really takes the workload off the setup is the big feature. But
Right.
even from a giant scale perspective, it works the same. Our giant scale airplanes aren't PNP, but you can still do all the control and setup in the Aura, and that's some cool features that are aside from the stability. And in a giant scale airplane, it's all personal preference. There's not a right or wrong way. There's a lot of guys that um, don't run the gyros in the giant scale airplanes like myself, but that's all personal preference. And for me, the biggest factor in that is that it's not allowed in competition. So
Right.
like you
Can't
said,
lean on it.
exactly. So like you said, if I were to run it, all the time, and then a contest comes up and I need to pull it out, it'd be really hard to go back for sure. So that's the main deciding factor in that decision. But
Got
there's
it.
not a right or wrong way.
But if you're out there with a tiny little foam airplane and it's 15, 17 mile an hour winds and
Oh,
you
it
want to
makes a huge
fly,
difference.
it's the only way to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
So where are you headed next? What's your next big event?
So the next one is middle of August, actually up in Michigan. Going to make the long drive up there for Great Lakes. That's in Temperance, Michigan. The Weak Signals Club, I believe. It's been a couple years since I've been there, but that event has grown tremendously. They do a great job in bringing in some good vendors and having a good solid raffle, and the turnout's usually pretty good. It's had a good time of the year for weather up north, so should be a good time. And the field is fantastic, paved runway and wide open. So I think the showing should be pretty good. It seems to grow every year, and it's still on the upswing. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thanks to Flex Innovations. I wanted to say thanks to Jase and his whole family. And if you see him out there, be sure you say hello. Jase, anything you want to say before you get out of here?
I just want to say that, I appreciate all the support. Flex is always growing and always taking in feedback to make those growth goals happen. So talking to everyone at events, talking to everyone online, it makes a big difference, whether you know it or not. So I appreciate all the support to all the customers and everyone that, follows us on social media, and we're going to continue to strive to bring some good products, some good innovation, and looking forward to talking with some more people for sure.
Awesome. Everyone, I'm Jim T. Graham with rcgroups.com. We're talking to Jase Dusia from Flex Innovation. And I want to say thanks to everyone out there that hits the buttons and clicks the likes and do all the things. Thanks, Jase. We will see you at the next show.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Ah.